Hello again. Hope you're ready for a nice relaxing few minutes. Today we're visiting the Grand Union Canal at Cosgrove. Cosgrove is a historic village lying to the north of Milton Keynes, where around 650 people live. It's been around since the Roman times, more on this shortly, and in the mid-19th century reached a peak population of 761. The principal industry in the area has always been agriculture, quarrying and gravel extraction. The construction of the M1 was the final major contract involving the local gravel pits between 1958 and 1959 when the motorway opened. The gravel industry closed down in 1962, being replaced by a country club offering sailing, swimming and other water-based activities in the flooded pits. However, today, Cosgrove is best known for its hostelries and excellent walks alongside the Grand Union Canal towards either Milton Keynes or Wolverton. In the Wolverton direction, a magnificent piece of 19th century canal infrastructure dominates the Great Ouse Valley. The iron trunk was constructed to replace 8 locks, which originally took the canal down to the river level of the valley and then back up the other side. In 1792, meetings commenced to propose an Act of Parliament to build a Grand Junction Canal between Braunston, Northamptonshire and Brentford, Middlesex on the outskirts of London. This would reduce the distance from Birmingham to London by 60 miles and overcome problems with the existing route, via the Oxford Canal and the River Thames, from shallow sections and shortage of water leading to delays at locks. There were also frequent conflicts with mill owners over water supplies. The Act passed in 1793 and Mr. James Barnes was appointed engineer for construction at the dizzy salary of 2 guineas a day. In today's money, that's the equivalent of about £57,000 a year, which is surprisingly close to the average earnings of a modern-day experienced civil engineer. Plus, he was given 10 and 6 a day expenses. That's about £78.75p now. Mr. William Jessup, who had been trained under Smeaton, he of Eddystone Lighthouse fame, was appointed to oversee Barnes's plans. Jessup already had extensive experience of building canals, notably the Ayr and Calder and Trent navigations. The Grand Junction Canal was built from both the Brentford and Braunston ends, reaching Blisworth from the north and Stoke Bruin from the south by the year 1800. Problems with the tunnel at Blisworth prevented the complete system from being opened until 1805. During the excavations for the canal at Cosgrove, numerous Roman coins were found in the southeastern corner of the parish, about a mile from Watling Street, where a villa, bathhouse and temple were excavated in the 1950s and 1960s. At Cosgrove Lock, Lock 21 or Talbot's Lock, there is a small wharf, and here you can still see some 2-foot gauge rails set into the ground. From 1767, the Cosgrove Lodge estate was one of the major landowners in Cosgrove. In 1919 it was purchased by C.R. Whiting, who established gravel quarrying by around 1931. The tracks were laid to bring gravel a short distance from the pit to the canal, where it was transferred to narrowboats for onward distribution. In around 1946, horsepower was replaced by a simplex locomotive, built by Motorrail Limited of Bedford, works number MR1904. After the Second World War, the pit and tramway system was purchased by Cosgrove Sand and Gravel, owned by 2 local builders. They continued the business until 1958, when the rights were sold to Dowsett Engineering Construction Limited. It closed down in 1960 following completion of the M1 motorway contract. The locks taking the canal across the Great Ouse River Valley was seen as slowing down traffic and wasting water. So in 1799, Barnes came up with the idea of building an embankment and aqueduct to cross the valley. The contract was awarded in December 1802 to a consortium headed by Thomas Harrison of Wolverton, work starting in August 1803. All was not straightforward, with the site engineer being ordered to sack members of the workforce who were demanding higher wages. The embankment and a brick-built 3-arch aqueduct opened on the 25th of August 1805, but already there were indications that all was not well. When the supporting scaffold was removed, the centre arch was reported to be in a sinking state. The aqueduct also leaked prodigiously, and in January 1806 part of the approach embankment collapsed, the failure being attributed to poor workmanship by the contractor, who disputed this claim and submitted an account of additions of his own. In 1807, Benjamin Bevan of Leighton Buzzard and Henry Provis were assigned to examine the contractor's claims. By this time, Jessop's aqueduct was showing even worse signs of failure, and in February 1808 it collapsed completely, severing the canal. Fortunately, the locking system across the Great Ouse Valley was still in place and was used to bypass the failed aqueduct. The investigation attributed the aqueduct's failure not to deficiency in Jessop's design, but to poor workmanship on the part of the contractor. The legal dispute with the contractor that followed was settled in the company's favour, with damages being awarded for loss of trade, around £400 per month, and the cost of the replacement aqueduct. As a temporary solution, Provis designed a wooden trough to bridge the Great Ouse, whilst Benjamin Bevan designed a permanent replacement. Having seen the success of Thomas Telford's iron aqueduct on the Llangollen Canal, Bevan proposed a cast iron trough design, but larger than the one at Pont Cysolthte. The Iron Trunk Aqueduct opened on the 22nd of January 1811 and has stood firm ever since, with refurbishments in 1921, 1986 and 2011. To maintain access for livestock and canal tow horses, a tunnel runs beneath the embankment next to the aqueduct, which is still accessible today. If you look carefully, you can also see signs of the original canal route, with traces of the locks which took the cut across the Great Ouse River. Cosgrove also has a horse tunnel, which allowed the tow horses to reach the stables in the village, which were originally behind the present location of the Barley Mow pub. Today you can take a walk across the Iron Trunk using the canal towpath. To ensure you maintain the necessary stamina for this 2-mile 45-minute walk, you'll find a convenient pub at each end, the Galleon pub in Wolverton and the Barley Mow in Cosgrove. Well, I do hope you've enjoyed this tranquil tale of traditional transport in Buckinghamshire and Northamptonshire. Feel free to click the like button or even subscribe if you'd like to see more transport, location and music themed content. Thanks very much and see you next time.